Okay. Well, hi everybody. Welcome to a very short presentation by Purple Shoots of Patriotic Millionaires. We are recording this, so I hope that's okay with everyone, just so that we can share it with people who can't make it today. So I'm Karen Davis. I'm the original founder of Purple Shoots, and with me on the call are Emma Musgrave and Richard Kirtley, and between us we make up the management team of Purple Shoots. To just quickly, before we start on our proposal, we'll give you an outline of what we do. So Purple Shoots was set up just over 12 years ago, and our mantra is to tackle poverty through enterprise. So we work with the most marginalized and excluded people to enable them to start businesses and to generate income. So one of the key things we do is microfinance, which is small loans to individuals to help them start a business. £5,000 is our max. And all our clients are people who would not be able to raise funding from anywhere else in the financial services industry, not even the government-backed schemes. So our clients tend to be people who've been out of work for a long time, people with health issues, ex-offenders, refugees, single parents, carers. Loads of people fall into the category or fall outside the support that's out there for other businesses. So we also do, on top of that, a lot of wraparound support that helps people get there. And the first step for that is what we call our self-reliant groups.
Yeah, so those are for the people who are furthest away from the workplace, and they're really about giving people the confidence to try and really taking their very, very first steps to show themselves that they can do something enterprising before they can step into a business. So, Richard.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much for having us, everyone. I want to start with a simple but important shift in framing. Much of the conversation that you're all part of, particularly through Patriotic Millionaires, is about taxing wealth more fairly. But today, what I want to do is take us a step further, thinking not just about how money is raised through tax potentially, but what happens next when it is. Because redistribution isn't just a policy question. We think it's actually a design question as well. And that's where Purple Shoots comes in. So Purple Shoots has been doing this work quietly for over a decade. We're a small organisation, but we're deeply embedded in the real economy, working with people who are often completely excluded from mainstream finance. Karen, as she's already said, our CEO, founded Purple Shoots after a long career in financial services. She saw firsthand who the system works for and who it doesn't. Emma, our operations director, has spent 10 years building self-reliant groups, supporting people long before they're ever ready for a loan. And my role is to help grow and connect that work, and particularly in place-based situations like in Sheffield, where I am. And the idea is turning that into something that can influence systems and not just individuals. So why we're not here to just fundraise. We want to be absolutely clear. We're not here to fundraise today. Patriotic Millionaires, you already have a clear role. That system change is advocacy, it's visibility. And for Purple Shoots, well, we think that we're evidence that a different financial logic already works. And what we want to do today is connect those two things and explore how we make that logic visible, credible, and scalable. So what does Purple Shoots do? Well, at its simplest, we provide small loans up to £5,000 to people who've been turned down everywhere else. But that's not really what we do. What we actually do is create entry points into the economy for those who have been excluded for a long, long time. We support people before they're ready. We walk alongside them as they build, and we stay with them as their businesses stabilize. We see the barrier isn't just capital, it's confidence, it's structure, and it's belief. And that is how our system works. As Emma said, we start with those who are possibly furthest from employment, from making a living from work. We help them with confidence, with structure, with those different things which enable them to then take that step forward into self-employment. But here's the thing, we're not just offering loans. We're cultivating financial resilience. And that's fundamentally a very different mindset, because as we see it, when people are supported to build something of their own, even something small, it changes how they relate to the economy, and it moves people from survival to participation. And this is where your work comes in. Patriotic Millionaires is making a powerful argument that wealth concentration at the top is not sustainable and that fairer taxation is part of the solution. And I completely agree with that. But as I've already intimated, I think there's a second half to that story, which we just don't talk about enough. We see it as a shared problem because the reality that we see every day is this: wealth concentrates at the top, risk is pushed downwards, and the people with the least security, those with the least behind them, are labelled too risky. They're excluded from the very capital that they need to build stability. Some stats from our latest impact report: in the last 12 months alone, 90% of our applicants had applied elsewhere for a loan. 68% had been rejected by mainstream lenders. And our loan book, and this is over the last 2 years, has grown 62% just to meet that unmet demand. So this isn't theoretical. It's a system that's actively excluding capable people from participating. And the scale of this is huge. We are operating in sort of place-based situations in South Wales, in and around Gloucestershire and in South Yorkshire. But actually, across the whole country, there are over 4 million sole traders, over 1 million micro businesses. And if you're actually looking for finance that's under £25,000, as we see it, there are essentially two options. There's the British Business Bank Startup Loan Company, or there are organisations like Purple Shoots. That's the gap, and it's far bigger than most people realise. But here's the opportunity. If we take even a small share of concentrated wealth and deploy it at the edges, we unlock enterprise where capital rarely reaches. And what we see time and again is this: small sums, just a few £1,000s, can completely change someone's trajectory. Income stabilizes, confidence grows, money starts circulating locally. This isn't something that's abstract actually either. This is immediate. So here is what we are proposing. Not a theory, but a test. A focused pilot that allows us to demonstrate what good with money actually looks like in practice, using infrastructure that already exists in the form of Purple Shoots and generating real-world evidence that you can use as patriotic millionaires to strengthen the case for systemic reform. So what would this look like? Well, we'd be looking at establishing a defined pot of £1 to £5 million, which sounds ambitious, yes, but we think it's achievable, as patient micro enterprise capital, which is invested in people excluded from mainstream finance. This would be delivered through a trusted relationship and a trusted infrastructure, which is in the form of Purple Shoots. It would be delivered into trusted relationships as well. And crucially, it builds this built-in learning loop as part of that. It is something that essentially tracks what works, tracks what fails, and what blocks progress, with the point of that being that we can feedback and inform system change, turning outcomes into evidence for policy reform. And this is what we think is really important. What would success look like here? Success here, it's not just repayment rates, but it's the idea that more businesses are starting and surviving, more household income and finances are stabilizing. There's clear insight into what the system gets wrong and real world proof that redistribution works. And that last point is key. We don't think this is just delivery. This is strong narrative that would enhance your own conversations. So what would we need from you? Well, this is where you come in, not primarily as funders, but as amplifiers. We need visibility. We need to show that alternatives already exist. We need policy traction to connect this evidence into the wider debate for financial inclusion, especially for small businesses. And ultimately, we need a route to action, hopefully a small group who want to work with us and to take this forward with us. Because together, this becomes more than a pilot. It becomes something that's real. If wealth is taxed more fairly, it must also be deployed more effectively. And right now, we don't have enough examples of what that looks like, but we could. Together, we can make distribution visible, credible, and scalable. So I just want to say thank you very much for listening. If you've got any questions, here are my details. Also, you've got the information from Karen and from Emma, and we're looking forward to having some conversations with you. Thank you very much.
Great. Thanks, Richard. I don't know if there's any questions now or whether whether that's enough and we can move on to redistributing the recording when it's available. Is that right?